Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of RAU'S IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates.
Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. Articles dated 24th of May 2022 are listed on your screen, and the timestamping for these articles is already given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article for the day.
Now, before we proceed further for today's session, there are two important announcements to be made. The first one is regarding the optional subject. Now, as all of you understand the importance of optional subject, so does the RAU'S IAS. RAU'S IAS is conducting the orientation session for various optional paper for you to understand the importance of optional paper in civil service examination, its important segments, and how it can help you till the interview stage. For better scoring in this examination, you have to choose the right optional subject, which is based on your interest, aptitude, and correct guidance. In order to have a better understanding, do join the orientation session of RAU'S IAS with respect to the optional subject. If you have not selected the optional paper, you can come and attend the orientation session for different optional paper and get the insights into the syllabus, subject and its better details. If you have already selected any of the optional paper, then you can come to get the better insights for understanding the syllabus and the approach towards this examination in the optional papers such as history, political science and international relations, economics, public administration, psychology, sociology, geography, and anthropology. You are invited to come for orientation classes between 24 to 27 of May in new building of RAU'S IAS at Old Rajendra Nagar. Please do register online at www.rausias.com. RAU'S IAS is announcing the mock 4 of Pre-Pareekshan 2022 just before the examination for providing you the right simulation to score better in this year's prelim examination conducted by UPSC. The starting date for the Pre-Pareekshan would be 27th of May right from the 9 am in the morning, and it will continue till 29th of May 2022 till 9 pm. You can participate in this test anytime between these two dates. The results of the test will be announced on 30th of May 2022. You can sign in, you can sign up on ELEARN platform of RAU'S IAS to participate in this test.
This article appeared on page 1st of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about one of the recent initiative taken by the Quad members in their latest meeting, which was organized in Tokyo, the capital of Japan. India is likely to join what Joe Biden, that is the President of the United States, has forwarded as a new trade initiative for the Indo-Pacific region in the recent Quad meeting. The context says that Indian Prime Minister has confirmed India's role as well as participation in the new initiative created by US known by the name Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, or IPEF. The relevance of this article is available both for the prelims as well as the mains examination. In the prelims, the question could be asked under the section of international organizations, and in the mains examination, this could possibly be asked in your GS paper 2, International Relations of India, as well as the GS paper 3 under the economic section. So what we are going to discuss today? The discussion will be based on what IPEF is all about, role, aims, and what not IPEF is created for, critical analysis of IPEF from India's perspective, that is, whether India has done something correct or not by joining this upcoming organization. We'll also look into the Blue Dot Network as well as some details of TPP and RCEP which were highlighted in the article itself. Now, what is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity that was proposed by the US President? It is a multinational economic oriented group. Now please understand, it will be a group which will have orientation more towards the economic development of the countries, and it will have members, all four members from Quad, 7 ASEAN members and New Zealand. It is proposed by United States of America, and it will follow the proposal which was highlighted previously by the same country under the name Blue Dot Network. It was announced in the Tokyo summit of Quad, which is under process right now. The members would include India, US, Japan, Australia, all four Quad members, along with the New Zealand, and 7 ASEAN members. Now, overall there are 10 ASEAN members, but 3 will be excluded. These 3 include Myanmar, Cambodia and Laos because they have the pro-China instance. And China has been observing Quad as a anti-China in Indo-Pacific region. So the member country which have the common geopolitical agenda as that of China will definitely not join such kind of grouping. The current status of this grouping says that it is only at a conceiving stage, no final proposal has been forwarded, no actual or enforcement has been conducted by now. There is no ground status of this organization, there is no headquarter which has been decided, and no clear standards or even objectives have been laid down. However, certain aims and role have been provided in the current meeting. Now, role and aim of IPEF would be that it will focus on certain parameters and it will avoid the other parameters. As far as focusing is concerned, so it will help in setting up the standards for digital economy. It simply means that the multinational corporations which are focusing in the IT services will be the focus area for IPEF. Apart from this, it will also focus on the cross-border easy flow of data from multinational companies, from company to company, government to company, and even between the governments. It will also focus on empowering the data localization. Now, this is the point where US and India have different perspective. There are numerous US companies, including the Apple, Google, Microsoft, and others, that have been going against the proposals of data localization by the Indian authorities. Now the question arises that what is data localization? So in layman's language, data localization simply means to locally available to store or to restrict the flow of digital data in local market. It does not allow the transfer of digital data outside the nation. The organization will also focus on countering the inflation through the resilient supply chain. As what we have observed in the past 2-3 years, first because of the COVID-19 crisis, the second because of the Ukrainian war, and now there is the issue of lack of supply at the international level. All this has occurred because of the non-resilience in the supply chain. So the member countries of IPEF would focus on bringing the resilience to the supply chain so that if any international event try to restrict or try to disbalance the demand and supply mechanism, it will help in creating the sudden demand to restrict the overflow of the prices or the extreme level of inflation. Then comes the commitment on clean energy from the members. It will also focus on the climate change perspective. So the organization will call for high level of commitments from these member countries to focus on bringing more of clean energy towards the functioning of the environment. It will also help in reducing the carbon outflow or the carbon footprint. That is, it will focus on the decarbonization process. It simply means that the availability of the carbon because of the various emission forms, including the anthropogenic, would be reduced by these countries through basic commitments. It will also focus on bringing the fair economy as well as fair economic practices. For that, the countries of this grouping will help in bringing the effective taxation regime, especially for the investors. Now, US being the prime focus country under this program will try to persuade the other member countries to have similar tax standards that can benefit the multinational corporation. Then it will also focus on tackling the black money, bribery, as well as the corruption as a major issue in the pathway of smooth economic development as well as the trade facilitation. And lastly, it will focus on bringing the peace and prosperity in the area of Indo-Pacific. The areas on which this organization will not focus and should not be confused with the other trade agreements like RCEP, TPP, NAFTA, CEFTA, or even the Economic Union. These are the 3 points where this organization will not focus. So, it is not a free trade agreement, it is not focusing on reducing the tariff between the member countries, and it will not focus on the defense trade facilitation between the members. However, given the kind of focuses it has, it will definitely bring better trade facilitation in the defense sector. However, the official document or the statement does not focuses on that. Now, the point is, should India be concerned about it or should India be happy about it? Well, as far as happiness or benefits are concerned, yes. These are the following benefits that should be there for India as a member of IPEF. The first one will be that India will have to fill the trade gap that it has missed after leaving the RCEP. Now, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership that has 15 members, and India was supposed to be one of the member or the 16th member. Now, India has already left the organization years ago, and because of that, India has lost a large section of market in Asia Pacific, or to be specific, in Indo-Pacific. Now, the point is that India would like to fill that gap. India would like to capture the excess demand available in these markets. So, capturing the demand through IPEF in ASEAN countries, in Australia, in Japan, and in New Zealand, along with United States, will definitely help India to bring more trade to its doors. Then India would like to have a major Indo-Pacific relations with the other countries. So the countries of Quad as well as the Southeast Asia now has become a new theater of international geopolitics. India would like to have a better or upper hand in the Indo-Pacific region in order to bring the smooth functioning of its diplomatic relations. Now, as India has not openly criticized the Russian-Ukraine war, India has also seen some of the negative repercussions from United States. India has also been condemned by the US authorities for being too neutral towards Russia. Now, if India joins such an organization of IPEF, it will definitely help India to pacify the United States, which is also one of its largest trading partner as well as the strategic partner. India already have low number of free trade agreements. Many of them are still under process or under discussion. So coming up with this kind of new initiative of IPEF will definitely help India to smoothen and fasten the free trade agreement with countries such as New Zealand or even Australia. India right now have a high trade deficit where its import exceeds its export, and that is the reason why India would like to go for better economic facilitation, especially in the area of bilateral and multilateral trade, to expand its export quantities, especially the merchandise, and reduce its dependence on the other sources, especially from the countries like China. India has a requirement of better international economic governance. So, be it the taxation, be it the black money, be it the trade facilitation, or the lesser number of paperwork. Such kind of international grouping will definitely help to make India a more trade friendly country in the world. As of now, as being the part of Quad, India already have a major trade relations with the members of IPEF, including the United States, Japan, and even the Australia. So the defense strategies of India will get a multilateral push to bring more diversity. This grouping will help India to counter China from the tool of Quad in the international economic front. This organization also have trade-friendly nations of India. So, be it United States, be it Japan, or be it the South Asian countries or the ASEAN nations. India has major friendly countries from the trade perspective, and that too from the perspective of low trade deficit. India has already been losing the international markets to China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Indonesia with respect to cheap goods, low labor cost, and low competitiveness from the perspective of agriculture goods. So, all these 10 points will be a gaining strategy for India if India joins the IPEF. But there is the other way around also. India might lose on certain points if it become a member of IPEF. And what are these? Well, these are as follows. The first one would be that it could end up hurting India's trade. The fear that India had with respect to the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or RCEP would also become a matter of concern in IPEF. More facilitation will help India, no doubt, for the expansion of its exports, but at the same time, giving more flexibility to the US agencies or US MNCs will provide or will expose India's market to the upcoming multinational companies' funds and wiping out of profit from India's domestic market. IPEF is seen nothing but a old wine in the new bottle because most of the concepts highlighted in the IPEF framework are either functioning in the other organizations, for example, the TPP or RCEP, or if they are not functioning in the other organization that have already been highlighted in the previous initiative created by US, such as Blue Dot Network. India has already a free trade agreement with many of the members. For instance, the ASEAN members, Japan. So having a existing facilitation of trade through FTA will create the double consequence of having the similar organization on that ground. It will benefit mostly the United States MNCs, especially in terms of digital economy, because the organization talks about opening up the Indian market for the upcoming data-led MNCs. The issue such as data localization is very subjective to the national interest. So Indian policy of data localization is different that of the United States policy or even that of Japan. India along with many other countries has already highlighted the concerns of open data policy which was proposed and which was endorsed by Japan and US previously. So India does not want to have the similar framework which is shared by the Western countries on data localization. India's society, India's polity and India's culture is far different that of the Western countries. The data localization and the penetration of personal information in India's database cannot be shared openly with these multinational companies under this agreement. The last one would be that if India go for the economic perspective of Quad, India may further antagonize China, which is already conceiving that India is tilting more towards the Western powers, and China is now treating India to be one of its competitor on the strategic and defense front. Now the point is what India should do. The answer to this question would be that India should go for wait and watch approach. Let the entire framework of this organization come into picture and then take the final decision to go ahead with this proposal or not. India will always have an open window to criticize or to leave this organization if India finds any kind of future threat to its economy or to its polity. The same method what India has done to the RCEP can be followed here if the negative repercussions outcome the positive benefits. Now with this let us now move to the two important organizations that were highlighted in the article. The first one is the RCEP which is functional now. It is world's largest free trade agreement which came into force in January 2022, that is this year only. Now, India was one of the proposer, one of the participating country in the formation of RCEP. However, The final deal was not signed by India, and that's how only 15 countries became member to it. The 15 countries include the 10 ASEAN members. As you can see here in the light blue color, all the ASEAN countries are there. And apart from these, 5 other countries including Australia, China, South Korea, Japan and New Zealand are already there. Out of these, Australia, New Zealand and Japan would also be there in IPEF. Now, why India has called off the signing of this deal? The first one was that India was concerned about the domestic industry that could have been taken by the cheaper and the alternative imports coming from Australia and New Zealand. The second concern was the influx of cheap Chinese imports, particularly the steel and the IT products. And third concern for India was that India was not in favoring of signing the data protection regime of RCEP. Now, third option is also applicable to IPEF, which calls for open digital economy and the data localization. Such kind of initiative in the future might be seen as opposing to India's concern. With this, let us now move to the Blue Dot Network. Now, what is this network which was highlighted in the article? This is a multi-stakeholder initiative which was formed by the United States, later on supported by Japan and Australia also, that is 3 out of 4 Quad member. Now, the purpose of this initiative is to provide the assessment and the certification of the infrastructure projects which are coming up worldwide, including India. So let's say there is an organization in India, a company which wants to construct a highway. Now, the highway quality, the standards of its quality should match the international standards. And how it will be assessed, how it will be certified? Blue Dot Network would be the prime source or the prime mediator in providing the certification and assessment of such projects that would be highlighted in the field of infrastructure. It will reduce down the trust deficit between the service provider on the infrastructure front and the ultimate user, that is the citizen. This network would ensure the financial transparency, international sustainability, ensure economic development, as well as mobilize the private capital to invest abroad. It simply means that it will facilitate higher foreign direct investment to India. The formation actually brought up in 2019. Founding members are Australia, Japan and United States with special focus on US, and it will function in the worldwide network with more specific region would be the America, Asia, Europe and Oceania. With this discussion placed, now I will leave you with this question to practice. So go through this question and try to highlight the correct statement and do comment in the comment box. Let us now move to the next article for the day.
This article was published on page 11th of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about an important constitutional event where the central government has reconstituted the Interstate Council recently. The Interstate Council, which will work to promote the cooperative federalism in the country since 1990, has been reconstituted by the Prime Minister as the chairman and chief ministers of all states, including the 6th Union Minister. Now, from the perspective of UPSC's prelims as well as the mains examination, this is one of the most important article that we should discuss. So we will take up this article from the perspective of prelim examination and then we will move towards the important highlight of the Interstate Council. On your right side, you can see the article 263 is mentioned and this article is the base for the creation of Interstate Council. This statement has been taken from the Constitution directly. This article talks about the provisions with respect to the Interstate Council. Now, Interstate Council, first of all, is a constitutional body that focuses on union and state relations. This body is created through the order given by the President with a duty to inquire, investigate, discuss and recommend the issues which are arising between the union and the state or between the states themselves. So it is more like a common platform where the issues of union and the state could be discussed simultaneously and a consensus could be built in order to reduce the inertia of governance between both these parties. The council provides for the coordination policy between the two units of the federation, and it shall be lawful for the president to order to establish such a council in the country under the constitutional provisions of 263 article, and define the nature and the duties that should be performed by this council and its other organization and the procedure. So from the creation to its duties, roles and others should be defined by the president through an order. However, exact on-ground work is conducted by the central government headed by the Prime Minister. Now, as you can see from this flowchart, we have tried to incorporate all the important aspects of Interstate Council functioning in India. Interstate Council under Article 263 is created on the order given by the President, and it defines the nature of duties to be performed by such a council and its organization and procedure. It simply means that President will define all important aspects of interstate council in the country. So after the enforcement of the constitution, President has established three important councils. First one was with respect to the health and family welfare, where state and the center will discuss on these two important aspects. The second one was the local government, and the third one was four regional councils with respect to North, East, West and South India on terms of sales tax. However, all these three councils were not permanent. So what happened? In 1990s, Janata Dal government headed by VP Singh established a permanent interstate council, and this creation of a new permanent interstate council was recommended by Sarkaria Commission on Center-State Relation, which was further supported by the Punchi Commission also. As per the creation of this council is supposed to meet at least thrice in a year. However, this does not remain feasible given the kind of governance system we have in India. As far as composition is concerned, so the chairperson of this organization would be the Prime Minister. All the state will be represented by their respective chief ministers. All the union territories such as Delhi, Pondicherry or even Jammu and Kashmir in the future will have their own representation with their chief ministers. Those union territories where the legislative body is not available, administrator would act as a representative body. And if there is a president rule which is functioning in a particular state, instead of chief minister, because at the time of president rule, chief minister is not there, governor will be the authority who will represent in the interstate council. Apart from these people, 6 central cabinet ministers, including the home minister, will be nominated by the prime minister. So home minister is a must. Apart from home minister, 5 other cabinet minister will be nominated by the prime minister in interstate council. This council will also have its own standing committee, and this committee was created in 1996. This committee will provide for continuous consultation, process of matters for the consideration of the council. It simply means that this committee will provide all the outsider help and the administrative or the governance help to the smooth functioning of the council. This committee will have Union Home Minister as the chairperson, 5 Union Cabinet Minister and 9 Chief Minister out of the all states. Apart from the standing committee, in 1991, a secretariat was created for this council for their assistance process. And this is known as Interstate Council Secretariat. With this discussion in place, now I will leave you with this question to practice. So read this question carefully and try to answer in the comment box. Let us now move to the next article for the day. This article appeared on page 6 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the importance of foreign universities branches in India in higher education, the prospects as well as the challenges. This article is important from the perspective of General Studies paper 2, in which education remains the important segment. UPSC has already asked a question in the mains examination with respect to the higher education and issues associated. The present situation tells us that currently India does not allow the entry as well as the operation of foreign universities or their branches and their campuses in India. However, National Education Policy of 2020 recommend allowing such kind of foreign universities which are ranking in the top 100. So this is the important criteria or a threshold that was set in order to invite the foreign universities to operate in India. In February this year, the Foreign Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharaman, in her budget speech has announced to bring world-class foreign universities and institutions and to set up such kind of institutions in the Gujarat's Gift City. Gift City is the international financial tech city situated in Gujarat and allows such universities to function free from excessive regulations available in the domestic education sector. Now, why do we require such kind of initiative? Well, India is seen around the world as an important country or a nation and also emerging as a higher education power in the world. India also known for the highest brain drain migrants from India outside the world. The highest source country after China in terms of education provider, in terms of education achiever and in terms of student always remains India. Now government has a perspective of definitely providing the higher education to Indian students. However, lack of education, higher regulation, poor infrastructure remains the prime focus of the students to not capture the entire education in India and to shift abroad for the better education opportunities. Given that condition, let us also analyze the current situation. Now, as per the UNESCO's Institutes of Statistics, this data is available which calls for the insider and the outsider students of India. Now, on the left side, you can see these are the number of countries or the important destination where Indian students are going for studies. In 2015, almost 2,33,000 students went outside India to gain education. As far as immigrants are concerned, so in 2014, almost 39,000 students came to India to gain higher education. Now you can see the starking difference. Now students of India are going to those countries which are higher in HDI vis-a-vis India. And students are coming from those countries which have HDI lower than India or have lower educational standards overall. Now let us go into the major merits or the benefits of bringing foreign universities to India. The first one would be that it would help in strengthening the soft power of India. Soft power calls about the cultural development between countries. And in cultural development, ethnicity remains the important one. And in ethnicity, the most important one would be the education. That is the reason why we are saying that soft power can be utilized in this perspective. Next comes the bringing of new ideas and institutions in India. So global practices will definitely come to in India and that will help the domestic institution, educational agencies to also push up their standards to meet the global demand. It will encourage the competition in India. So the domestic countries, universities, even the private institution will definitely compete with the coming global powers to improve their quality and delivery of services. And last one, it can stop the brain drain that students who are going outside country for the education and settling in those foreign countries may drop the idea and stay in India altogether to provide their contribution to the national development. But here are some of the issues which are associated as per the article. First of all, lack of incentive given in India. So if foreign university tomorrow decides to enter into the Indian market, they will not be able to compete because the incentives which is provided by the central government to the universities or the state government to the universities is far low than what is required by the foreign universities. Then comes the criteria of top 100. So why only provide admission of foreign universities who are in top 100 list? Even Indian universities are not there in the top 100. Then why such kind of discrimination should be there? Instead of top, government can come out with the top 500 category because this will increase the spectrum of universities that would come into the existence. Then comes the profit motive. Most of these universities are making profits, then they work on the corporatization of the profit. For example, the Yale University from US and the National University of Singapore were going on with a separate agreement. However, because of the low profit margins, this agreement came to an end. Then comes the over-regulation and the bureaucratization of the education in India. We have the high degree of red tapeism, which does not allow the universities to work in a smooth manner at functional autonomy. And last one is the drain of wealth. The profits which are being earned by these universities will be drained out, as similar as that we see in the multinational companies working in India. So what should be the way forward? Government can bring those universities where academic specialization from Indian perspective is there, or those universities where non-resident Indians are working in the senior management positions. Why? Because those people have direct linkages with Indian culture, society, and the functioning of India's education system. For instance, a person who has got education from IIT Delhi or IIM Ahmedabad is now functioning in the academic position in, let's say, United States or London. If that person comes back to India and try to manage the Indian education institutions sponsored by the foreign universities, that would bring more better linkages to the Indian society and Indian demand. Government can provide better incentives, facilities, especially in the field of infrastructure for those universities. For example, the initiative taken by the government through gift cities is a good one. Relaxing some of the norms for the private universities will definitely boost up the investment from their side. And lastly, the flexible visa rules for the students to visit and study in India and also for the faculty member will give a boost to this proposal. Now, what should be the ideal possible standard? Bringing foreign university will bring higher standard to Indian higher education in the country. That will definitely penetrate down to the private universities of India, government universities, and India will be in a position to upgrade its higher education standard to the global one. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article was published on page 1st of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about a report given by International Labour Organization on the employment and unemployment level in the world in past few years. As per the International Labour Organization that monitors the world of work, now this is the basic name of the report, and this was the 9th edition of this report, and this report actually talks about the status of global employment in the last few years. And it tells us how countries are tackling the uneven labor market and its recovery. The key highlights of the reports are as follows that you can use in your General Studies paper 3 as well as General Studies paper 1 for various topics. The labor is also an important topic that can be highlighted in your ethics paper or even in the General Studies paper. So the overall relevance of this topic is very high. From the perspective of prelim examination, you just need to remember the basics of International Labour Organization under the international category or international institutions that are highlighted in the prelim examination. And apart from that, remembering the important reports that was asked by UPSC in various papers can also be taken for the discussion. So the key highlights of this report was that number of hours worked in the world has deteriorated. It simply means that 11.2 crore full-time jobs have been cancelled or have been ended in the world in the post-COVID or during the COVID crisis. Apart from this, gender gap also remains the large issue. Now, women are working almost 18.9 hours per week. Men, on the other hand, is working 33.4 hours a week. If you combine this with the gender pay gap, you will find the drastic change or the drastic difference between the men and the women in terms of employment and wage earning. Women are working less, plus they are getting low payment. It simply means that both these factors will increase the diversity and the inequality on the perspective of employment in the country. Now, on the perspective of India, the report says India and many other the countries which are below the per capita GDP of India have experienced the deterioration in the gender gap in the working hour condition. Informal women workers have been hit harder than their male counterparts. Increasing inflation has posed a drastic challenge for maintaining the purchasing power parity of labor income. It simply means that let's say a person was earning 1000 rupee a day previously, and in this 1000 rupee he or she can buy 10 kg of food. Now the inflation has increased. Now what will happen in the present case? A person will be able to buy only 8 kg of food from that 1000 rupee. So purchasing power parity has reduced, and this is the case because of the high inflation across the world. So poor has been hit a lot. Now what is international organization? This is important for your prelim examination. It was created in 1990 after the Treaty of Versailles. The basic objective of the organization was to recognize the social justice in securing peace, understanding the world economic interdependence before the coming of World Trade Organization, GATE, IMF, World Bank and others, and also for bringing the cooperation for uniform working conditions across the market. Simply means that all these focus should be there on labor conditions. It is the only, now please remember this, I'll put a star over here. It is the only tripartite, that is three-party UN agency ever created. The first party is the government, let's say Government of India. The second is the employer, that is the companies, both private and the public. And the third one is the organizations of workers, let's say unions, from 187 member states. It has three important organs, the first one being the International Labour Conferences, then we have the governance or the governing body, and then we have International Labour Office or a permanent secretariat. The basic function remains to set up the labour standards, their wages, their working hours, develop policies and devise programs for their promotion, for promoting the decent work culture for all men and women. It talks about the gender pay parity. The headquarters of ILO remains at Geneva, Switzerland. These are the three important flagship reports which are published by this international organization. The first one being the Global Wage Report. Then we have World Employment and Social Outlook. And then the last one is World Social Protection Report. All these reports are highlighting the importance of labor reforms in global market. Now let us look into India's role in ILO. India is a founding member of ILO. So India joined as the member being the British colony back in 1919. There are 8 core conventions of ILO. India as of now has ratified the 6 out of them. The 6th convention ratified by India includes the Forced Labour Convention, Abolition of Forced Labour Convention, Equal Remuneration, Discrimination, Minimum Age and Worst Form of Child Labour. All these conventions are also highlighted by the different legislation created by India. What India has not ratified by now is the Freedom of Association and Protection of Rights to Organized Convention. And the second one is Right to Organize and Collective Bargaining, especially focusing towards the unions. With this discussion in place, now I will leave you with this question to practice. So read this question carefully and try to answer in the comment box. Now we come to the last part of today's Daily News Simplified, that is the question of the day. The answer to yesterday's question was option 1 and 3, that were the correct options given in the question. It simply means that the benefit of Gati Shakti master plan would be to reduce the delay in completion of infrastructure project, as well as to reduce the logistic cost and promote multi-modal connectivity. The question for today is that consider the following. Option number 1, International Labour Organization was founded after Second World War to provide labour reform. And the second statement is, India joined International Labour Organization in 1995 after being a member of World Trade Organization. You have to identify the correct statement and do comment in the comment box. That's all for today's Daily News Simplify. Thank you.